The Red Sea Security and Development Course takes place in Cairo, Egypt, gathering dignitaries from different parts of the world coming to the country in order to draw future plans. It's always a plus to hold such important events in Cairo and in Egypt amidst the challenge of COVID-19. Join us to watch more on this important event. Arab and African states of the Red Sea working in the fields of peace, security, diplomacy, combating terrorism, maritime security, also humanitarian crises, fragility, and other relevant fields held their meeting in Cairo entitled the Red Sea Security and Development Course. It mainly aims to enhance their capacity on risk and conflict analysis resolution so that they can pursue pathways towards advancing sustainable peace and development in the region. This training course mainly aims to provide a better understanding of the geopolitical and security trends and challenges in the Red Sea region with the objective of strengthening national capacities to address them, as well as regional cooperation processes towards advancing sustainable peace and development. The first part examines regional complexities and challenges across the peace development continuum by mapping the nature, scale, and spillover effects of systemic risk. Also, the second part is presenting tools to analyze the conflict dynamics and structural drivers of conflict setting and promoting interlinkage and synergies in responses. As the world adapts to the new normal, it is becoming increasingly apparent that there is a dire need of mobilizing and aligning efforts to resolve crises, to foster inclusion, and to build resilience, working with a broad range of partners. And this requires efforts towards addressing structural drivers of risks across the peace development continuum in the Red Sea. The Red Sea's rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape is presenting a number of risks and challenges, but still it presents also a range of opportunities to strengthen the humanitarian development peace nexus and advance sustainable peace and development. At the same time, the socio-economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic, compounded by the upsurge in the conflict and terrorist attacks, has accentuated the pre-existing fragilities, threats, and humanitarian crises in this fragile and conflict-affected region. Hence, this important meeting came timely in order to bring all the partners together and also think tanks to plan for the future.
The Red Sea is an important strategic region, and it has been discussed in the first two editions of the Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development in Africa in December 2019 and in March 2021, and even before that in the previous years. So we wanted to operationalize, to implement in a concrete manner the discussions we've had before on the Red Sea through this first training program that the Cairo Center is doing on advancing security and development in the Red Sea region with the participation of 6 African and Arab countries from the Red Sea region.
Yes, the Cairo Center did a great effort in that respect and bringing different partners together in order to think for the future. If we talk about the priorities on your agenda, Ambassador.
Well, the priorities for this course. The priorities for this course is to focus on how we can address the transnational threats that are facing the countries in the regions, such as terrorism, trafficking in persons, drug trafficking, piracy, maritime security, climate change. All these threats and challenges are interconnected, and they require comprehensive approaches and holistic approaches through cooperation, conflict resolution, fostering confidence building. So the course will focus on all these aspects together with the participants from these countries.
It's also very important from the title itself. It shows quite significance in reflecting on the Red Sea security, development, and stability. What does it take in cooperation with different countries and partners around the world to have this sense of security and stability?
Well, thank you very much for raising this important point, because this is the originality of the Aswan Forum and this Red Sea course. Does not only look at security in isolation or stability in isolation, but it looks at it with development and with how we can achieve prosperity and economic growth and infrastructure. And we heard some of our partners, such as the African Development Bank, the UNDP, address these issues. So we have to address these issues together in a holistic manner through cooperation, through investments in infrastructure, in resilience, and in conflict resolution.
Egypt is always moving forward in creating more, of course, bridges with Africa. We've seen a very important and a fruitful year for Egypt and the chairmanship of the African Union. However, our sense of cooperation continues. We also see the eye-to-eye sense of cooperation with under the leadership of the president in that respect and following his directives. Egypt's cooperation with Africa, and we saw today different African partners coming to put hand in hand with Cairo Center in that respect.
Yes, I mean the priority given to Africa is very high on the Egyptian agenda, and it's led by our president, and it has continued beyond our chairmanship of the African Union in 2019. It continues to be a very high priority for the work of the Cairo Center. We continue to have many courses and activities with African countries all over the continent, and to continue to strengthen and to work with them to strengthen peace and security and sustainable development in the continent, working with partners also like international organizations and regional organizations. Also, it is and will continue to be a very high priority for us.
Yes, talking about priorities, and if we are going to talk about the outcome and the recommendations that are going definitely to be applied later and are going to be followed with a sense of a follow-up mechanism in the future, what will the recommendations come out assessing?
Well, we will take out what comes out of this course and the discussions, and they will, the recommendations, the conclusions, the lessons will feed into the preparations for the next Aswan Forum, which will be held next year, 2022, in the next quarter of the year. And we will also have discussions there, hopefully on the Red Sea. And the course today will feed into these discussions, and we will use the experiences exchanged and the lessons learned to prepare for the next Aswan Forum.
The UN Office on Drugs and Crime is a proud knowledge partner of the Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development, the outcomes of which have shaped this course. An estimated 10% of all global cargo shipped by sea passes through the Red Sea every year. Conflict in the region represents a major threat to world trade and to the development of neighboring countries. Political instability and poverty also create conditions for organized crime and terrorism to thrive. Components for improvised explosive devices are trafficked into Yemen through the Red Sea, while cyber attacks threaten the navigation systems of vessels and target oil pipelines. Each year, tens of thousands of migrants seek passage from East Africa to the Gulf in search of jobs and a better life, placing their lives in the hands of human traffickers. To support states in the Gulf of Aden and the southern Red Sea in addressing maritime crime and its links to land-based criminal operations, UNODC is building national maritime law enforcement capacity and strengthening port security and governance. To improve information exchange between Djibouti, Eritrea, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen on criminal network activities and suspicious vessels, we are driving the development of the Red Sea Information Fusion Center. UNODC is also supporting work under the Somalia sanctions regime to disrupt maritime trafficking activities of the terrorist group Al-Shabaab. We are committed to continue working with all of you for the security and development of the Red Sea region, including through initiatives such as this training course. I wish you a successful training, and I hope this course will contribute to strengthening the humanitarian development peace nexus on and around the Red Sea. By improving cooperation and coordination against shared threats, we can better protect and empower people against organized crime, terrorism, and violence.
I think Egypt is an important and innovative diplomatic player in the region, in the world, and this interest for the Red Sea has not gone unnoticed. Of course, Belgium is very far from the Red Sea, but we see Egypt willing to be there, an important player, and as always, a force for stabilization. And this kind of initiative is typical of how to create good cooperations between riparian countries of the Red Sea. So it's an extremely interesting initiative.
Yes, it is, and we have other important initiatives also with Belgium. because we're working together to foster further bilateral relations and cooperation, especially in the economic and investment sphere, Ambassador. Tell us more about this horizon.
Yes, of course, we are not political partner because we are very far away and our sphere of influence is different. But of course, we are very active economic and commercial partners. So indeed, for example, the Haven of Antwerp is looking for cooperations here. You want to be a world-class hub for petrochemical things, and for example, is the second petrochemical hub in the world. So it is. We are potential partners, and we are actively working together.
Future prospects of cooperation, and I know that soft power and culture, also bringing both cultures and people together between Egypt and Belgium, is a very important priority on your list of priorities, Ambassador.
Absolutely. So come the day after tomorrow, come at the Halager Center at the Opera, and there's an exhibition on comic strips, Belgian comic strips, and the way the Belgian comic strip look at Egypt, with plenty of original drawings, testimonies.
This training course, in our understanding, does not mean that you are here only at the receiving end while lectures are delivered by others. Your feedback and interaction are essential to benefit from each other's experiences and learn more about our visions, expectations, both successes and challenges, in order to determine the scope, the pace, and the channels through which our efforts to converge to make the Red Sea a region of stability and prosperity could succeed. The Red Sea was always a bridge, never a barrier. A bridge for the movement of peoples, the expansion of trade, the flourishing of cultures, and the slow development, or to be more precise, the constant revival of the Red Sea identity, capable of resisting attempts to separate the Arab East shore from the African shore in the west and the Middle Eastern north from the Horn of Africa in the south. History provides us with so many examples of how peoples around the Red Sea perceived it as a single and integrated region, how they moved freely through it, and how they came together to defend it when it was threatened.
I think that this is, as I said, this is very critical, very strategic. Egypt is just trying to send a message. The message here is to cooperate with different countries. The message here is that Egypt is just trying to build a new strategic vision to have mutual understanding, mutual economic benefits, mutual training and educational benefits. And as we've been talking about that before, this reflects what is the soft power of the country. We've been talking about certain dimensions, and today they are talking about the security part. They are talking about how to train the African delegates and how to exchange different views and how to have that sense of genuine cooperation and having that sense of trying to build genuine partnerships with the African continent. I think that by having such courses and such events, and as you know, that we are witnessing in the upcoming weeks another international event, which is the Youth Forum that is supposed to be held in January 2023. So I think by having all of such events, or 2022, so by having all of such events and occasions, I think it's not just for the purpose of holding the event, but it's more about to extend the power of the country, sending crystal clear message that Egypt is just extending its hands to help, to cooperate, to train, and to exchange experiences. This is reflecting what is Egypt's message. Egypt, as a matter of fact, is just a peaceful icon in the Middle East. And we are just trying to have that sense of how can we help the other countries and how can we build such partnerships, as I said before. There is something very important here, that this event is not just the first of its kind. We witnessed before many events and many occasions like that. And the core point here is to build the future vision for the the African countries, including Egypt as well. So I think that by having all of such activities and the trainings, and this is something related to the educational educational part as well. So I think in this way we can just have the dimensions, the strategic dimensions that we are looking for, which is not just to build the country inside, but also trying to have strong relationships with other countries in the world. And that is what is the core message of such event.
That was just a glimpse of the Red Sea Security and Development course that took place recently in Cairo, with different dignitaries from world countries coming to discuss the future plans from Egypt. Egypt, the mother of the world.